What is up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Not So Stupid podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down some strategies and understandings really behind what it takes to develop more self-confidence, more grit, and more willpower. Because I think when you look at things you want to change in your life, you will always tell yourself, man, I wish I had more confidence in this specific area. I wish I had more willpower to follow through with doing this activity at work, or following through with sticking to my plan, whether it's a diet plan, a training plan, a performance improving plan if it's for your job or a skill that you're developing, or improving your ability to fight through obstacles and persevere through difficulties. Because I think, no matter where you are in life, you're always going to want to be better at those things. You're always going to recognize that you have an upper limit, a place where you stop. You hit a wall basically, and you want to be able to push through that wall, but you're struggling with facing the wall itself. So we're going to kind of go through what that means and how you can do that, because this is something that I've been exploring with myself personally in different aspects of my life that I'm just really excited to help to share with you guys as I go through this and create more of an understanding about how this works, in your mind, how this works with your expectations, and how this works with your physical body's response, so that you can move past it. One thing I want to say is that a lot of this is it's not domain specific, it is domain specific. And what I mean by that is you can have a lot of willpower in certain aspects of your life. You can have a lot of confidence in certain aspects of your life and certain things you're capable of doing. You can have a lot of grit in those things as well. But there are going to be other areas of your life where you might not be as confident, right? I mean, I know for me, I'm very confident in the gym. I'm very confident with my training, with my understanding of the human body and how it moves on land and in a weightlifting setting. I have no confidence, I should say little confidence, in my ability to swim, in my ability to be in the water, understand how to move in water, feel confident navigating through water. I don't have a lot of confidence doing that. And this is something I've been practicing, going swimming. Pre-COVID, I had a swim coach until the pools closed down. Still waiting for the pools to be open more for open lap time or open pool time, so that I can kind of go in whenever I want to. But something I've been more willing to do is kind of jump in the pool and increase how long I can stay in the pool, how long I can practice doing these things I learned with my swimming coach, and how I can develop those and go through the next steps until I am a very confident swimmer, or at least a reasonably confident swimmer that I can go to water events, do water activities that require, with doing those things without being afraid. Because right now, if I go hiking to a waterfall, which is something I did recently, and the water gets too deep, I'm limited in how much fun I can have, basically. I can still have a great time, but I would definitely want to enjoy the experience more, and I would be able to do that more if I swam. Likewise with water activities, it's summertime here in Chicago, and we have jet skiing, we have kayaking in the river, we have tubing, all of those things that I love the idea of. I love how great they sound, but I'm definitely stuck in what I'm able to do with those things. So your willpower, your self-confidence is domain specific. You can be confident in one area of your life and not in another area. And that's something you would want to improve, right? Not to say that you can't improve in the areas that you're good at. You can definitely turn your strengths into a superpower, and then also work on your weaknesses to make them a strength. That's going to be the goal here. But getting back to the idea of creating more self-confidence in these different areas of your life, creating more willpower in these different areas of your life, it really starts with one thing. When it comes to cognitive behavioral therapy, the main kind of mantra of cognitive behavioral therapy is changing the way you view things will change the way you feel. So using me as an example again, when I go in the water, I used to call myself a land mammal. I used to say that I'm not made for the water. I wasn't born for this. I'm not made for this. And automatically now when I'm thrown in the water, this is something I'm not supposed to be in, right? Based on the definition that I made for myself in my mind. And the way I was able to, navigate around this and be more comfortable is by first becoming more aware of my thinking in these situations, right? I have this with clients all the time as well. When they come up to me looking to go through a diet and lose weight, looking to start a training program and get back into the gym, they've come with certain preconceived notions of themselves that they've made themselves believe to this point in time. So they'll say, I'm not really a lifter. I don't really like working out. I don't really like coaching or getting a trainer, for instance. But really what's happened is they may have had a certain experience that led them to this thinking that kind of ruined the idea of it entirely, tarnished the idea of it entirely for all future endeavors. So maybe they went to the gym one time and they were really stuck in their head. They saw someone looking at them or just happened to look in their direction and they felt really self-conscious and they left and they're like, I can't do this lifting thing. I can't go to the gym. It's not for me, Or they went to the gym one time and dumbbell rolled on their foot. They hurt themselves. They don't like the idea of the gym anymore. That could have happened years ago and they don't remember why they don't like going to the gym, but they remember the feeling they had of being in the gym, remember not liking it, and stop themselves from actually following through and going to it again. Right? So that's a very basic example. And I think you could probably relate this to some area of your life. You don't like this thing. If you were to explain why, you might not entirely know why, but you don't like it. But it's important to become aware of your thinking and how you approach those situations and how it relates to you. So this isn't for me, right? Something you can tell yourself. The only reason it's not for you is because you're telling yourself it's not for you. You can just as easily say, I can do this, but I'm not good at it right now. I am learning to be better at this. So I'm practicing as I go through it, but I'm not the best at it. Those are all better ways of explaining your situation. Whereas they're better ways in the sense of they can create future opportunity for you. Whereas if you tell yourself, this isn't for me, I'm not made for this, I'm not a swimmer, I don't belong in the water, you boxed yourself in this definition that you can't get yourself out of. And your body is going to react in accordance with your thoughts. So it becomes really important to become aware of your thoughts first and foremost. Are you putting yourself in a box? Are you steering your body to this feeling based on how you're thinking, right? And once you're aware of your thoughts and you recognize how you're trapping yourself in some instances or how you're limiting yourself in other instances, you can challenge your thoughts with logic, right? And this is where it becomes really difficult facing those thoughts because it's hard for us to pinpoint and recognize that our thoughts are the issue or when they come up. So again, for the longest time, I was telling myself, I'm not a swimmer. I am not a water person. I'm a land mammal, right? And those all are true at that point in time. But again, I boxed myself in. I didn't give myself any opportunity for growth after that. So challenging my thoughts with logic, I was able to find that, I spend most of my time on land, but humans can swim. I'm a human. I've seen humans swim. I know humans are capable of swimming and spending a lot of time in water and succeeding. So I should be able to do this. I'm just not able to do it right now. So I'm accepting where I'm at, but also accepting that I could become better. Whereas before I denied the possibility of myself becoming better. I denied the possibility of growth or development in this area of my life. And by challenging my thoughts, I can recognize the flaws in my old thinking and work around this new thought process that helps me be more confident, that helps me be more willing to try these things, be more willing to challenge myself in these regards. Right? And the thing is, because I'm pushing myself a little bit, right? It's a little uncomfortable to do things you don't want to do, essentially. If I've told myself I can't swim for a long period of time, I am always very hesitant to go in the water, or I used to be, I should say. I used to be very hesitant to go in the water. But now that I defined myself as something else, now that I gave myself this opportunity for growth, I'm more willing to try. I'm more willing to do new things. Very recently, I went to Hawaii and I went to a waterfall and I base jumped off of this rock into 8-foot water. So it's not super deep water. It's I'm 6 feet tall, so it's 2 feet over my head, and then maybe a 3 foot swim or walk from this 8 foot point, I'm able to stand up. So I challenged myself, was very terrified, I panicked doing it as well. Just to, full disclosure, it's not like I went at this thing and succeeded with flying colors. No, I jumped in there, I swam back up as best as I could, panicked, flapped my arms toward the point of water where I could stand, and gained this experience that obviously didn't go so well, but I'm doing better at facing this fear, because you can be afraid of things, but you can't become less afraid of things by avoiding the fear. You have to be able to face the fear, and you have to be willing to face the fear in reasonable circumstances, so that you can overcome that fear and become a stronger person. Again, making your weaknesses strengths. My weakness is water. My weakness is ability to navigate water and have confidence being in the water. So me facing this head on and going through a reasonable challenge, there were other people around that were competent swimmers. I asked for people to be on standby to help me out in case I do panic or I'm not able to make it. And I did the jump into this 8 foot water, swam maybe 2 feet toward the point of water where I could stand, and then started asking for help for people to pull me in because I really just wanted it all to be over with. But it's looking at it in retrospect, reflecting on it, it wasn't as bad as I made it seem in the moment. And now that I've made that experience and I have actual physical memory to go off of to know what to do in that situation the next time I'm in it, I'm more prepared, I'm less afraid and more prepared for the next time I face this situation. So I became better by facing this fear, right? And I'm not telling you to do the same thing, right? If you're afraid of spiders, I'm not saying jump into a pit of tarantulas and see how you fare. That's obviously like a big jump forward, but find a way to challenge yourself that is comfortable for you without being that's uncomfortable for you without being too uncomfortable. So you're looking for comfortably uncomfortable. Maybe for you, if you're afraid of spiders, your way of conquering this, taking that first step to become less afraid of spiders, is seeing a small spider on the other side of the room, and instead of calling someone to help you, you put on gloves, put on a face mask, whatever you need to feel protected, and get a cup and cover it with that, or take a napkin and cover it with that, so that you are conquering this little spider, right? And it's a small step forward. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I know a lot of people that are paralyzed when they see a spider, no matter how big it is, even if it's the size of a dime, that isn't gonna harm them, but in their mind, they're afraid. But if they slow down, become aware of their thinking, recognize that they are more powerful than the spider, especially in the US, poisonous spiders aren't as common for most living areas. You can get yourself to try and experience this discomfort a little more, or even letting the spider be as it is and not needing to freak out. That's also a practice in itself. You don't even have to go and do anything with the spider. You can just stay there, try to relax, and be logical with yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to become better, if you're trying to gain confidence at this thing, if you're trying to minimize your fear and improve your willpower, consistent practice is the only way, it's the only thing that's going to make you better. It's the only thing that's going to make anyone better, both in things that you have no propensity in. You have a long way to go basically in becoming better at, and with things you're already really good at. Because you can be really good at things, but you can always be better, regardless of how you feel about it. If you think you're already the best and know everything you need to, you are, again, giving yourself a wall, giving yourself a ceiling that is imaginary. You can always be better at something if you let yourself be better at that thing. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, there is obviously something I think a lot of people have heard of called exposure therapy. Putting yourself out there, experiencing this thing to whatever magnitude that you can deal with, so that you can become better at navigating it as well. So the common phrase that I've heard a lot of times for this is putting yourself in the storm helps you figure out how to navigate the storm. Putting yourself in hard situations helps you become better at, better prepared for them when they become real. I think in a previous episode when I talked about Intro to Stoicism, one of the practices I had talked about is practicing misfortune. practicing negative things so that you're prepared, putting yourself in a negative position on purpose so that you're prepared to face this thing when it actually happens. You have a higher threshold of confidence, a higher threshold of comfort in real life so that you aren't bogged down by this later on in life. And also recognizing that when you do practice these things, they're never as bad as you make them seem. In Buddhism, one of the core tenets of Buddhism is the idea that all suffering is in the mind. And with all the examples that I've said to this point in time, you can recognize that the only reason you're afraid of these things, the only reason you don't have confidence in these things, the only reason you lack willpower to pursue these things is because in your mind, you have allowed yourself to be okay with being afraid and not progressing with it. You've allowed yourself to be paralyzed by these fears. You've allowed yourself to be limited by these thoughts and ideas that you've created for yourself, right? And it's important to I think it's important to take the blame and take responsibility, because when it is your fault, you can do something about it. If it's somebody else's fault, it's out of your hands. You can still do stuff, but you can't change the root cause of it. When it is in your hands, when it is your fault, you have full power to improve your situation, to improve your quality of life. So I think that kind of covers the basic understanding of how it comes about. How your lack of self-confidence comes about is because of some thought patterns that you've put yourself in. Your lack of willpower is because you think there's no reason to do this, because you have such low confidence, because of your thought patterns. But when you become aware of your thinking, you can challenge your thoughts with logic, and then you can go through a mild exposure therapy. You can practice misfortune and put yourself in these positions that help you become better at a specific domain, a specific skill, area, fear that you lack confidence in. Or you can find ways to challenge yourself that just help you put you in a mindset and practice a mindset that you are. Let me start this over again. You can challenge yourself more generally with different domains of challenges. So there's really three main domains that I personally have been practicing. It's physical challenges, so challenges of the body, mental challenges, so these are like thought problems and challenges of your thinking, which really just going through this entire practice is a way to challenge yourself mentally. And then there's skill challenges of things that maybe you're not too good at, but you want to try and be better at. If you put yourself in these positions willingly, frequently, you'll be able to recognize how you react naturally in these situations, challenge those thoughts with logic, and see how you can perform better and see how you can handle yourself better in these situations as well. So for instance, I have read a book called Becoming Uncomfortable with Being Uncomfortable. And it's 43 weird ways to challenge yourself so that you can become a more mentally resilient person, because that's all we want at the end of the day, to be more mentally resilient, to be able to push through discomfort and not let that be the reason we don't do the things we want to do. The way to do that is to practice actually being uncomfortable. So Ben Aldridge, the author of this book, put together a list of really funny things that can challenge you mentally, physically, and skillfully. One of them is knowing how to do a Rubik's Cube. If you've never learned how to do a Rubik's Cube, it's actually relatively simple. You just follow a few algorithms. But it is hard to, get the hang of the first time around. It might take you a good amount of hours to actually master. And even then you'll need a few practice rounds to actually solidify it in your mind. But how you navigate through that frustration of learning how to do it is going to be telling of how you're going to navigate other frustrations in your life when they occur, other problem frustrations. And that's a skill-based example. A physical example could be something simpler, like pushing yourself to do, for me, I chose doing a half marathon. I hate running. I hate the sensation of running. I hate how tired you feel when you run. But I'm becoming more willing to, again, define myself as someone that runs, define myself as someone that is able to persevere when I want to give up. And it's made me more confident as a person, because now if I can go through this physical task, which even though it's physically exhausting, it's really you trying not to talk yourself out of it. That's the hard part when it comes to long distance running. I'm able to endure longer periods of discomfort at any one time and find success with it at the end. So that's one way to do it. I think another way is taking cold showers is a really good basic one to start off with. And again, you can always scale this to match wherever you are right now. So I'm running a half marathon because I already play sports pretty often. Running a 5K would be mildly challenging to me. I really want to challenge myself even further, right? This is coming from someone that's really active. So if you aren't active right now, maybe running half a mile for you is that starting point, is that scale that you need to become more challenged. If you're afraid of going to the gym, maybe going to the gym and doing 3 workouts, doing 3 machines, straight up, just 3 machines, not even exercises with dumbbells or anything like that where you're worried about form. 3 machines, just sitting down, doing the machine and moving to the next machine and just getting experience is your way of becoming more resilient, more physically and mentally resilient. Maybe if you're afraid of public speaking, your way of becoming better at that is recording an Instagram video and sharing it on your story. Because those are only 24 hours long. All the fear again is in your head, because I went through this when I first started my Instagram profile. I was always afraid to talk to people, but no one ever said anything bad to me. Really, everyone was always interested, and I realized like I picked at the details of how I spoke more than anyone else ever would, and that in itself made me more comfortable to speak. And the fact that everything is always temporary, it lasts 24 hours. No one cares enough about you as they go through their 30 Instagram stories to pinpoint you specifically and stay on you for the rest of the day, the rest of the week, the rest of your life. It's not going to happen. So that's a good way to practice becoming more comfortable with your public speaking. And again, just scaling things and scaling things to where you're at and choosing challenges that are challenging to you, because every person finds different things challenging. You know, taking 1 lap in the pool might be easy for someone that likes swimming and has swam since they were a child. For me, that is such a hard task that I'm still trying to work around. Figuring out what things you don't like to do. Why don't you like to do them? Become aware of your thinking. Challenge your thoughts with logic and find a scalable way to practice this and consistently practice it so that you become more comfortable with this discomfort that you originally have. This is how you create more self-confidence, because when you face the challenges, you're gonna, and you succeed in them, right? If you choose a good scalable challenge. If you choose something way too hard and you fail at it, you're defeating the purpose of this experiment. Find something that is reasonably challengeable, something that reasonably challenging, something that is good for you to do without being overwhelming. Do that thing, accomplish it, build that little bit of self-confidence from accomplishing it, and then level up to the next thing. That's all it takes. Recognize where you are, what and how you feel around different situations. Why do you feel that way? How can I practice not feeling that way? How can I put in the reps to become better at this thing that makes me uncomfortable so that I could become more comfortable, and do that. And the more willing you are to experience this, the more willing you are to push through discomfort. And the more self-confidence you'll build as a result, and the more grit you'll build as a result, the more mental resilience you'll build as a result. So that is kind of the basic breakdown of how this works. If you found this really helpful, I would highly appreciate and recommend. Oh, throat went dry there. It was going for a while. I would highly appreciate and recommend you share this with a friend. If you want to if you want help and ideas with how to develop more self-confidence, how to develop more willpower and grit in different areas of your life, and you want to bounce ideas off somebody, I'm more than happy and willing to do that with you. Feel free to message me on Instagram at stupid.fit. Stupid is with 2 O's, or email me, Jumha@stupid.fit. Again, stupid is with 2 O's. And I'm more than happy to help you out, because I think that at the end of the day, these ideas all sound nice, but if you need help to actually follow through and pursue them, I don't want to be the one that holds you back. I want to be the one that propels you forward. So please feel free to reach out and let me know how I can help you any way that I can. And thank you guys for listening to this episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.